Welcome, everyone. Today, we're just going to give you a brief presentation on some of the changes to the income screens, which are coming to the New York State of Health application. And you'll start to see these income screens effective in the live environment on August 11th, 2018. So we wanted to make sure you have a chance to look at them, watch us move through them, and just get a sense of how they're going to work so that when you're sitting with your consumer, you're not thrown off by seeing new screens or changes to screens that you're used to seeing in a certain way. So that's what we're here to do today, and we're just going to give you a quick demonstration of one family that you should be familiar with, and we're going to walk through all the income screens for that family. We're going to show you that family if they have income from a job. We're going to show you that family if they have self-employment income. We're going to show you how you would add additional income, Social Security benefits or unemployment information, and we're also going to show you how to add deductions. So you should be familiar with how to do all of that, but some of the screens have changed. We've added a lot of help text, which we hope will make your job easier. We hope it'll make consumers feel more comfortable answering questions and really give everyone a sense of why New York State of Health is asking questions or what New York State of Health might do with a set of information. Again, just hoping that it makes life easier for everyone and makes easier for your consumers to answer the income questions and accurately get an eligibility determination based on their actual income. And when we're done, we'll show you a brief conclusion slide and we'll make sure you know how to send us any follow-up questions if you have any at the end of this presentation. So let's jump right in and we'll show you a test case using our test environment. So here we are in the test environment. The test environment is a mock of the real environment. So this is going to be a pretend case that we show you. And you should be familiar with this screen. This is the intro to income section of the application. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And as you see, we come here to our tax status screen. One of the first major changes we are excited to show you is the way that we are labeling our household members. So you will see throughout this section that all of the household members now have their middle initial, suffix if applicable, and their age displaying. So when we talk about Homer, you can see that we're talking about Homer who's 35, Marge who's 34, Bart and Lisa who are respectively 8 and 5 years old. So that's one of the new changes that we're excited to show you. As families, some families have a lot of family members and similar names, or there might be a junior or a senior. You'll be able to see that, and that should help you be able to more easily identify who should be marked in what specific way. So you'll see that throughout all of the changes that we're about to show you. So here we are on our tax status screen, and the first thing that you need to mark is Homer's tax status for 2018. So if we mark Homer as head of household with a qualifying individual, you'll notice that some help text has appeared. Do I qualify to file as head of household? So if your consumer is not sure, you can help them by clicking on this, and you will see some new help text shows up. Do I qualify to file as head of household? And you can review this information with your consumer to make sure that they feel comfortable if this is their tax status, that they're marking it appropriately. And it also gives you the IRS website so that you can even go out and help them to get more information if you need it. If Homer was married filing separately, you can then go ahead and check the dependents separately for each spouse. So if Homer is filing separately and claiming Bart, then Marge might be filing separately and she might be claiming Lisa. So if Homer is claiming Bart as a dependent, you might notice here that you can no longer mark that Bart is going to be Marge's dependent because he's already marked as Homer's dependent. So there's just some new features to make sure that the tax filing statuses are reciprocal and that we can determine household composition appropriately based on the tax status. And it's easier for the user to reduce the amount of mistakes that they might make. So in this scenario, we can also say that Homer is married filing jointly. And now you can see that it adds a new question, who is Homer filing jointly with? And it automatically pre-populated his spouse, Marge. And if you click on the drop down, there is no one else to select because Marge is the only person on this application listed as Homer's spouse. So now again, there are dependents being made available. Who will Homer claim as a tax dependent on next year's tax return? And the two children, Bart and Lisa, are now made available. So if Bart is a dependent, then you come down and you see we have Marge here, and we can't change Marge's tax status because we said here she's filing jointly with Homer. So now Marge is automatically set. So we said that Homer is claiming Bart. So now if we click on Bart, you notice that he only has two options. He is a dependent and will be filing taxes, or he will not be filing taxes. If Bart is not a dependent, then you have all of the options available for Bart's tax filing status. But as soon as you make him a dependent, he only has two options. If Bart was not a dependent of Homer or Marge, only Lisa, and then we selected that Bart is a dependent and will be filing taxes, we now have an additional question showing for Bart. Will Bart be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return? And if we say yes, the application asks for more information, and you can go ahead and enter the information on the person that will be claiming Bart as a tax dependent. So these additional fields show up. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we are going to say that both Bart and Lisa are dependents, and you can say that cleared out all of the additional information, and Bart will not be filing taxes. And we're going to go ahead and hit next. And now we move to our earned income screen. So here on this screen, you can see that it asks, has anyone in your household receives or does anyone expect to receive income from an employer or their own business in 2018? And in this scenario, you may notice that yes is already pre-populated. And that is because, as you can see down here, New York State of Health, received a data hit on Homer and on Marge. So both Homer and Marge had previously had employment from a job showing up through the data hit. So what happens is, instead of allowing you to answer this question, it's already pre-populated to a yes. So it throws up this message for Homer. Please click Edit to provide income details. So it's telling you that this is a record that we have and that the user needs to address it. If we change the answer to no, you notice that we throw up a message, data from the source must be reviewed. So now you know that New York State of Health has received income data for someone on this application, and you can't actually change the answer to no. You must go down here and address this yellow message to provide the income details. So we're going to go back to yes. So we're going to jump over to our PowerPoint for just a moment. And one item that we want to point out to you is that when the consumer is a tax filer and they select yes to this question about do they expect their household yearly income to be the same as what it was last year, in some cases, instead of building their income for each household member, they may be able to go ahead and enter their projected annual income. Then New York State of Health can match the projected income to our data sources, and there could be no need for the consumer to build their income. If this scenario occurs, we have also added some help text on the screen so that the user will know what income to enter here. So as you can see, if the user clicks on the blue text which states what income should I include, we are now providing additional information which helps define what we are looking for, which is ultimately the consumer's MAGI income. Please take the time to review this help text with your consumer and make sure they report their income accurately. So now we're going to jump back to our test environment. So we're going to come back here. If in this case the entry was previously entered by the user, so maybe last year Homer reported this employer X4Y5Z6, Then you can go ahead and edit it. So we want to know how the consumer gets paid. And one of the things that you might notice here on this edit earned income screen is that the name of the employer and the address of the employer cannot be changed. There's no ability to edit these fields. And that occurs when New York State of Health receives the data hit saying that this is the name of the employer. So the consumer can't change it. But what they do need to do is go ahead and start answering and editing the questions for which of the following best describes how you're paid. So does he work full-time or part-time? And if he does, he could enter how much money he makes from this employer. So he could enter that he makes $50,000 a year, and that automatically calculates how much he expects to earn from this job. Or he could earn $500 a week, and that again automatically calculates his annual income. If Homer marked that he was a seasonal or had past employment, you now see that New York State of Health needs more information. So we're going to ask you about the type of work that Homer did seasonally or in the past. There's also help text here. How does New York State of Health use this information? And it tells you how that we need this information to understand Homer's work history if he has to provide income documents at a later time. So again, just more help text to help you and your consumer feel more comfortable. If Homer marks that he is an entertainer performer, then there's a second drop down. So please specify this type of work, and it gives you more options. Just going to pull it down so you can see all the other options. And we're going to say that Homer is an actor. A couple things that we wanted to show you on these sub drop downs, there is an option of other. And if you click other, you will then get a text box so that you could then type in that he is an actor or whatever type of work that Homer does. And that exists with any of these. So if you were to select that he was a tradesperson, you would get a subcontractor or a sub drop down. If you were to instead say that he was a tradesperson, you would get a different box to mark what type. Maybe he's a painter. If you select other, again, a text box appears too, so you can specify his type of work. Another thing that maybe we want to look at, so Homer is an entertainer performer, and we're going to say he's an actor. But remember, we're doing seasonal or past. So if Homer earned $200 a week from January 1st through May 31st, you could add another date range. Maybe he earned $300 a week from May 1st to May 31st. And then he earned $400 a week from June 1st to June 30th. Now you can see that it calculated still his annual earnings. If you wanted to get rid of one of these date ranges, you can go ahead and just click on the X, and you can get rid of the last date range, and you can get rid of all of them. And if Homer worked irregular or day to day, it throws up some information to let you know that this should be selected when you're not paid on a regular basis or when you expect to be paid on an occasional basis during the tax year. And it still asks for the type of work. So again, it throws up different options on the drop down. You could say you're a contract worker, who is a consultant, for example. So those are the drop downs. So in this case, we're going to say that Homer works full-time, and we're going to say that he earns $50,000 a year. So some more things that we want to show you down here on Marge. Again, this is an entry that she had previously entered. Maybe she met with an assistant a couple weeks ago and tried to do an application. And there are some options here. So if Marge wanted to say that she never worked here, this pop-up screen would show, are you sure you want to remove this source of income? And you can say no, keep it, or yes. So we're going to say no, keep it. Or you could say no longer work here. And in this case, what we want to make sure, even though you may no longer work here now, did Marge work here at any time during 2018? And if she did, then we want to know about that income. So maybe Marge earned $200 a week. Maybe she just worked 1 week or 1 month in July. So yes, she no longer worked here, but she did work here for a period of time, and she does have some income that we want to talk about there. So down here, we still have income for Bart and Lisa. Bart expects no earned income, and Lisa expects no earned income. They're children, they're not working, so we're just going to leave those alone. So another thing we want to show you here. So we have this part-time employment for Homer here, but we want to add an income source here. And we want to show you what it would look like if Homer was self-employed. So maybe he also has a job where he works for Duff Industries. And that's on 1 Main Street, right here in Albany, New York. And he is self-employed. We're going to hit next. So here under self-employed, it now shows the Duff Industries that we just entered. And we get this new question. Does Homer expect his self-employed income to be the same in 2018 as it was in 2017? We've added some help text here. How do I know if my income is expected to be the same? So you can click on this, and it gives you a little more information about the taxable portion of your self-employment income. That's what we're looking for to find out if it's similar to what your taxable portion was last year. So just some more information for self-employed individuals. If we say yes, then we go ahead and we want to know how much Homer's making from his self-employed business. And maybe he makes $10,000 a year. Or if we mark no, income is not expected to be the same, then we see what we're used to seeing is our 3-month drop down. So in January, February, and March, Homer has his self-employment income. This is what you're used to seeing. We can add expenses here. And here's our expense drop down. And we've added some expenses here to the drop down. And as you know, they will be reduced. So if you want to say he has an office expense of $200, each month, it reduces it. You can see it's a negative because I haven't put anything in here. So let's say his gross sales are $1,000 each month. He's a very successful self-employed individual. So now it took that and times it by 12, and then it reduced the deduction or the business expense. You can remove the business expense by clicking on this X here, and it will go away, and you're back to having his income. So we're going to add that. And now you can see his income from his full-time or part-time job, and you can see his self-employment income. We have Marge's self-employment income still here, and the 2 children with no income. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. And you can see that it moved us into the benefit section. So it says, has anyone in your household received or does anyone expect to receive unemployment insurance or Social Security benefits in 2018. So there's some help text added here. What are Social Security benefits? And it tells you that this includes Social Security disability, retirement, and survivor's benefits. So again, just help text added to help your consumer feel more comfortable. We want to show you another different view. So if the system does get a data hit saying that the user received either unemployment or Social Security benefits, again, they will be automatically displayed here. So you can see in this example, it came up again with that yellow message saying that you have to edit these because we got them from a data hit. Also, if the user clicks on the fact that they never received it, they're asked to verify that they want to remove the benefit as shown on this screen. Or if they clicked that they're no longer receiving this benefit, it says, again, did they receive it at any time in 2018? Because they could no longer be receiving unemployment, but if they got unemployment as income during the year, we need to know about it. So I'm going to go back to my testing environment. So we're going to say yes. And here you can see we want to know who is getting unemployment. So we can say that Homer, if Homer were to get unemployment, we would add it here. And we could say that he gets unemployment. And maybe he makes $234 a week for 7 weeks. Let's say he gets that from June 10th to July. Oh, it automatically populated the end date. And maybe he gets $234 a week for 13 weeks. And that's expected starting October 1st, and that brings us through the end of the year. So you can see with those 2 date ranges and amounts, again, it automatically calculated how much he expects to collect from unemployment insurance benefits for the year as $4,000. Now, if you wanted to get rid of the second date range, you can click on this X and it will remove it. So we're going to go ahead and add the unemployment that Homer gets. We're going to bounce over to our screen here. If the data hit returns different information than a previous data hit, you could see these alert messages as circled on the screen will be displayed, asking the user to review the information for accuracy. So if you were to see these messages with the orange triangle and the exclamation point, you could know that that's because we got different information than the last data hit, and that could happen. Going back to our test environment, we're going to remove the unemployment for Homer. We're going to say no. No one in the household expects unemployment or Social Security benefits. And we're going to click Next. So here on our additional income screen, again, it's just telling you, has anyone in the household received or do they expect to receive any additional income in 2018? If you say yes, it tells us, it gives us all the household members and tells us to add their additional income. So if we add an income source, there we go. So maybe Homer has some qualified dividends in the amount of $1,300 for the year. Again, it automatically calculates it, and you can add it. Now, if you were to go up here and click No, you can see a message gets thrown up that tells the user by selecting No, you will lose all of the additional income data for the account. So if we say no and hit Next, we lose the additional information we just selected from Homer. So we're going to go back to yes, and we're going to keep this additional income for the $1,300. So people don't realize a lot of times by changing this answer, they lose the data that they put lower in the application for each household member. So if we were going to edit this, You might notice here on the type drop down, there is an option for other. Other income. And then it throws up a text box and asks you to specify the type of income. So a lot of our other options are now giving text boxes so that the consumer can be more specific. And again, this is so that when the consumer needs to submit documentation and we are reviewing it at the marketplace, we'll have more information about the type of income that we're looking at. So in this case, we're going to cancel and we're going to remove the other income. So we don't have any additional income for this family. And we're going to step through the application. Oh, we said yes. So it gave us an error message. It said, you said yes, you have additional income, so you must add it. So we're going to say no, we don't have any additional income. So here we are to the last section on deductions. And you notice again, we have help text here. What deductions should I include? This is a very common question. So this should help you and your consumer. You can review this information with them to help them feel more comfortable about what type of deductions they should enter to get to their MAGI income. So if we want to say yes, we have deductions. Again, just for purposes, we can show Homer. So on our deduction type dropdown, you might notice that there is no longer an option to show certain types of deduction that we've had before. So in this scenario, we're going to mark that Homer might be claiming some student loan interest, and you can see the maximum amount is $2,500 each. So if we said $3,000 a year, we want to add it. It's going to tell us that it cannot exceed $2,500. So then you can go ahead and update it so that it comes in properly. I want to jump over to our PowerPoint again for a moment to show you another separate view on the deductions. So again, some previously entered deductions are no longer allowed. So you can see here on the screenshot that they're advised that the maximum allowable amount for some deductions may have changed. So they had tuition and fees, and it's telling them that this deduction is no longer available, and it's asking them to please remove it. So they're given the opportunity to remove or edit their deductions. As you can also see here, this user had previously entered a deduction under the category of other, and for some reason they labeled that other deduction animal crackers in my soup. And you can see that the marketplace is saying that this deduction is no longer available and asking the user to please remove it because it is not an allowable deduction. So coming back over here to our test environment, we're going to remove the deduction for Homer. It's not going to let us click next because we said yes, you selected yes, so you need to add the deduction. So in this case, there are no deductions for the family. And you can see again, it's telling us the error message or the warning message. If you select no, you'll lose the income deduction. So they really don't have any deductions. So we're going to move forward. And you can see here we have the household income summary. And you can see that we have our income from a job, $50,000 a year for Homer. We have Homer's self-employment income from Duff Industries at $12,000 a year. And we also have Marge's seasonal income at $885.71. So we agree with the amount shown. And we click on Next. There are no error messages outstanding on this page. So now we can move to the current income section. Some other things that we want to show you briefly is the meeting expenses screen. In some cases, when a user has no income, they will also see this screen asking them to explain how they meet their expenses. And this question is now displayed for each individual. So all 3 individuals on this example who don't have income, all 3 of them need to explain how they meet their expenses. And again, if you answer other, a text box will show up asking you to specify what that other is supposed to mean. We also wanted to show you the recent medical expenses screen because this screen has changed slightly. The user is asked if anyone in the household wants help paying for past medical bills. If they answer yes, then they are asked to select the household members and the months for which they are requesting assistance. So you can see here in this scenario, we are saying that Jenny wants help paying for her medical bills and she needs help in January and February of 2018. If they answer no, then they can just continue through the application. So this ends our presentation on the updated income screens, which, just as a reminder, you will begin to see in the live environment on August 11th, 2018. Thank you for tuning in to this presentation, and if you have any outstanding questions, please feel free to email us at ourassister.admin@health.ny.gov email box. We do check it and we will get back to you. Again, thanks for joining us and have a great afternoon.